very sad but real story. A man kills mother and 12-year-old son um, over parking space. This is a real story. Put it up full mask. So I'm taking you to Ohio. A man has been jailed on a $3 million bond and faces felony charges after allegedly gunning down a mother and her son over a parking spot. His name is Brandon Casto, 28 years of age, who has now been charged with 2 counts of aggravated murder and 2 counts of assault with a weapon. Those are felonies. Here are the victims. The victims are 47-year-old Tania Mangual, her 12-year-old son, Jericho. Police were called to the scene on March 28th after receiving multiple 911 calls about a woman who had been shot in a residential community, the residential community of Akron. According to WOIO, responding officers arrived to find what they called a grisly scene. There was a car that was partially on fire that had crashed into a tree. They looked inside the vehicle. They found a 12-year-old child and his 47-year-old mother in Akron, Ohio, shot dead. The 12-year-old was pronounced dead at the scene. His mother was later pronounced dead or died at the hospital. First responders also recovered a 2-year-old boy who was alive and uninjured. The toddler was taken to a local hospital as a precaution. Let's go to Tania's longtime friend. She was an eyewitness to the murder. She narrowly escaped death herself during the shooting. Her name is Sabrina Glover, 49. Said she, Mangual, and the children had returned to her duplex that night shortly before the deadly sequence of events. When the mother pulled into the driveway, her car was blocking a car that reportedly belonged to a man who lived in the same complex. Quote, he came outside and he said something, and she was like, who was he talking to? And I looked around and said, well, there ain't nobody else out here, Glover told WJW. The exchange grew increasingly heated, and at one point, the man called a relative, later identified as Casto. Casto reportedly arrived at the scene armed with a handgun and confronted the mother in her car. The confrontation then exploded into a fatal onslaught as Casto discharged a volley of gunfire into the car. That's according to Glover. Quote, he walked up to her driver's door and he got the gun out and he cocked it back and he said, and it's an expletive, you're threatening to kill my family. And then bam, 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 Glover said. I mean, he just unloaded the clip. I was standing right there. I couldn't scream. I couldn't yell. I was stuck. Tania and Jericho were fatally struck. And the car they were in rode into a wooded area across the street and caught fire. Then Glover said Casto turned on her. Chilling surveillance video showed Glover running for her life and hiding behind a car as Casto came after her. Quote, oh my God, don't do it, Glover is heard yelling in the security video. Quote, no, you threatened my whole blank family, Casto responded. I didn't, Glover replied. Glover said Casto fired one shot at her. The bullet missed her, but she felt it graze her hair. Still, she fell on the ground as if she had been shot, and she played dead. That is why she's alive today. Quote, I put my arm like this, and he shot, but he missed. He missed, Glover said. I don't know where the bullet went, but it went through my hair. I felt the wind of it, you know, like the whoosh. I don't know where he went. And then I was lying there. I was like, oh my God, he missed. But I played dead. End quote. When authorities arrived, Glover told them everything. Investigators tracked down Casto, who fled more than 180 miles away to southern Ohio. He later surrendered himself to police in a county near the West Virginia border. At one point, he made numerous calls to friends and family to inform them what he did. These individuals called the police department. Lieutenant Michael Murphy, in the Department of Public, from the Department of Public Information, said detectives also conducted a search warrant on an apartment connected to Casto, where they found multiple guns, accessories, and a large collection of ammunition, which by law, primarily Republicans, cannot be tracked, traced, or utilized as the context of possible criminal behavior. Tania's mother has set up a GoFundMe. We're asking for you to do the very best you can to help them as they go through the services, ceremonies that take place after a death. All right, Sharon, thoughts here.
Well, it's just horrific. It's horrific. And as you were going through some of the details that are horrifying, and I can't imagine, I kept thinking to myself, tie a knot and just hang on. That's what I hope that everyone can do in their worst moment, to just have some perspective. But then again, that's everything. That's
Yes,
why these tragedies happen, because people
that's right.
have enough and they can't quite pull
Yeah,
themselves back from the brink.
yeah, yeah. And you can't talk about that story without talking about the great dehumanizing protocol of so-called leaders, where they want you to believe that somebody who came from, if you believe in God, I believe in God, they came from the same God. No matter how you got
Mhm.
here, we all came here from the same place, whatever that place may be. But somehow the dehumanizing tactic will cause somebody to become a monster like this guy and decide to kill an entire family. There is no humanity in action or character when you do something like that.